Welcome to Real Feels, the podcast that invites people to be public with their private persona. In a world where we are constantly redefining what it means to be a man, I'd like to take some time to find out who we are, who we aim to be, and the space in between. I'm your host, Brad Gage. Steve Levy is a guy who doesn't completely feel like he's grown up yet, and he's okay with that. As an associate producer of the hit Adult Swim show Rick and Morty, he's worked hard as hell to succeed in an environment where he can immerse himself in the world of the movies and TV his father showed him as a young boy. But sometimes that immersion has affected his dating life, like you'll hear. Today we talk about what it was like growing up as a sensitive kid, the frat-like climate at his high school, and some life lessons he learned from his dad. I'm so glad my friend took some time to be here with me right now. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
It's been a good day, yeah.
Why?
It was a little slow, but outside of that, it's good.
Why wow? What does a good day look like to you?
You wake up, you're not feeling pain. That's not true. I did wake up feeling pain, but
What was the pain?
I have psoriasis, and when it gets really cold, it gets really painful. Like my skin just like cracks and bleeds. It was actually pretty painful. So I lied.
What?
But I forgot, which shows a lot about my memory, which we were talking about earlier.
That's good that you forgot, and I'm sorry that I'm bringing you back to that
My day was so
place.
good that I forgot the bad start.
That's good, though. I mean,
to answer your question, I guess I started off on the wrong foot this morning, but then I had a fun day at work, and also like I got two buddies into interviews at a place, and I think they both did really well, is what I heard, and so that's exciting to me. So hopefully I can get my friends' work.
Yeah.
So I feel good about that.
Is that's something that you work towards a lot, is helping out your friends?
Yeah, I mean, I try if I can. It's tough. This business is hard, but I mean, well, in that regard, yeah. But in general, yeah, helping my friends I feel like that's why I'm here.
You feel like helping out the people you love and that are around you, or why you're on Earth.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're your people. You know, it's like they define life. It's who you surround yourself with and the experiences you share together. When
do you think that you kind of came to that conclusion that that's why you're here?
I think pretty early on. Probably in high school. I don't know. It's I like to be surrounded by good people and to work with them and just better each other.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the culture of sports when you were in high school?
For baseball, I mean, it was very bro-y. It was the kids who played soccer, football in the fall, and basketball in the winter.
Yeah,
there was bro-y. I mean, they.
Mine was too. What we think about. Explain what you mean by bro-y, because I think I know what you mean.
They're kids that had come up in the system, the athletic system, together since childhood, and so they were very, very tight-knit group of friends. In fact, this is real, their broiness took them to another level. A lot of those kids I like, and one of them is still to this day one of my absolute best friends. They started, and he was probably the smartest of the bunch, and he was a part of this group. It still astounds me to this day, but they started a fraternity. I believe it was our junior year of high school.
They started a high school fraternity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the kids in the group, his first name was Marco, and they hosted it out of his unfinished basement at his house. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was debaucherous. They were doing, I remember like they were doing like, I'm pretty sure, like I remember the Ghost Ride the Whip era where like you put your car in neutral and let it go, and then you jump on the top of it. Like I remember them doing stuff like that, and some people getting injured in stupidity. And I remember one of them, like they a kid pissed in his Gatorade or something, and like he drank it. Like you know, it was like it was all they wanted to live Animal House, and they succeeded.
No, all of the things you're talking about are very real to me. Peeing in things.
Yeah, that's
getting
right.
People to drink
you were in a
stuff.
fraternity. I would come and visit you in your fraternity.
I was
house.
in a fraternity, but my high school was crazier than my college fraternity. We were like
it was pretty chill.
A dry house and a bunch of film nerds.
Right. Yeah.
But in high school, we weren't calling ourselves a fraternity, but we were doing these horrible things, pranks to people. Sometimes there was, I mean, you think about just these awful things. Hazing. There was more hazing going on in my high school football team than anything I saw in my fraternity in college.
That's wild.
Insane.
Yeah, especially because we went to Miami.
Well, yeah. I mean, all these things you're talking about seem fairly normal, harmless stuff. I mean, did you feel like you experienced things that were more regrettable looking back, as far as like the types of relations between men and young boys and girls?
Totally, it was a very toxic environment. I remember they had like that basement had like a fuck room, and like.
Oh God!
And like they were young kids, and of course I can't.
The pressure of having a fuck room, because not only
they all had different girlfriends at different times, or they were just playing the field.
Like having it, you just do wonder. Just even the existence of it is how stressful that must have been for some men and boys and girls. I'll say boys and girls because they're boys and girls.
Sure.
How stressful it must be. It's like, oh, well, you better go in the fuck room. And it's like...
I wasn't close enough to it because I didn't want to be. I definitely attended a few of those parties. And it was like kids pissing on walls and like people running in and out.
I mean, looking back, I love that stuff.
Like
pissing on walls and screwing around.
Kids doing drugs and drinking.
Doing
and
drugs
whatever,
and drinking. Great.
Yeah, but I feel like the toxicity and the misogyny came in speech and just like, I guess what they were trying to accomplish. I don't know what with women or like competitive. They're competitive by nature, so whatever competitions they have had with each other, like in terms of like how far are you getting with X, Y, and Z women, or like the same woman. I'm sure that stuff existed. I don't want to say it did because I don't have the memory of any of it, but I do remember like the gross conversations like on the baseball team that kids would have about.
Yeah, you could call it locker room talk. I mean, that's what it, and I mean, I know that I participated in that plenty because if you don't, you're not part of the crew,
right? I mean,
if you're not talking about this stuff, and and you kind of feel like a man when you're doing it. You're like, this is what men talk about.
It always bothered me. It's when I was a kid, like that behavior, like I never thought it was cool, and maybe it was because I didn't feel confident enough that I could achieve whatever they were achieving, or I never had the confidence to like talk to girls. Like I didn't date. I didn't have a actual girlfriend until I got to college. I didn't have my first kiss until I got to college. So I like through middle school and high school, I was nervous and scared, and I didn't understand that behavior and how to exude that confidence. But I don't know that I felt like I needed to or wanted to. I just like being friends with a lot of people.
When did you understand what it meant to be a man? Do you remember, like, kind of when you saw an example where you're like, that's what a man is?
I don't know that I've ever had an experience like that where like a switch flipped and I was like, that's a man.
Sure.
Because I don't see myself as a man. Like I think of myself as a kid. I'm 30. I'm about to turn 31. I don't know what that says about me. I work in cartoons. I don't know. I'm stunted. But
do you actually think you're stunted, or do you think that?
no, it might just be perspective or just a way I view. It's like legally I'm a man by law, but in terms of the things that I like to do, it's like I'm still every day talking about Star Wars and X-Men every single day. That's not a joke. And to a lot of people, that makes me a kid. I remember like dating a girl very briefly, and I brought her into my room, and I was like, man, how is she going to take this? Because like, I was like, and I think I actually said to her, let's just rip this Band-Aid off. And it's just like, my room's like a bunch of toys and stuff I've collected since being an adult and being able to afford my own gadgets, like technology and action figures and stuff, things that I loved from my childhood that.
But how did she react to that?
Poorly. She was like, Jesus Christ, no.
She just said no?
She was like, you're great. And
in that moment,
she was like, Steve, I can't. You're great. I don't know if I could ever come back in this room.
And to you, when moments like that happen, do you think that, oh, I got to change this? Or do you think, well, this just isn't the right person?
I think at the time I really liked the person. I was like, well, I'm willing to change. Who cares? You're great. I feel like we have a connection. What do I have to do? But I think a lot of my friends were like, that's not the right person for you. You should be dating someone who like wants to talk to you about the Justice League and likes Adventure Time. I mean, that room, I've lived in the same place forever, and I haven't changed much, but I've added a lot of stuff to that like collection of things because my job has taken me all over, and I've had good fortune of meeting a lot of people and working closely with a lot of really cool properties, and so I collected a lot of swag and merch and whatever you want to call it, but it's all in my room. And also, like, when I was a kid, my room was just full of Legos and toys and video games. And in college, I remember my mom going like, hey, just so you know, while you're at school, I'm gutting your room and turning it into a guest room. And I remember just being devastated, like feeling like I lost a piece of my childhood. So then when I moved to LA, I was like, I'm going to have like my childhood dream room, which is such a weird thing because I'm like 22 and God, I'm doing a really bad job of selling myself.
Well, no, this is important because I want to ask, like, why do you think that you now associate so strongly with these things that you liked even when you were younger?
Yeah.
And like to a level of not even just liking it, but making it a part of your environment, a part of your life every day.
Yeah, I mean, some of those, I don't know that I looked up to those characters, but I feel like a lot of them were part of my journey growing up. And also probably because I associate a lot of them with my dad, and he passed away when I was in college.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because you guys would watch the shows together, or what? What
yeah,
about
I think
them?
He introduced me to a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, the X-Men, just Batman, all of it.
He was into comics and.
I don't think he was.
No, just the TV shows and the movies.
It was weird. Yeah, I don't know. Like very early on. It was before I was 5 years old. I remember growing up on Long Island and sitting in my den and having the action figures for these shows like X-Men and having the Burton Batman figures. And my dad he was putting on like Hook and Star Wars and Rocketeer and Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Burton Batman and Batman Returns, like crazy movies to be showing your 5-year-old. But it definitely like shaped me. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'd be in entertainment had it not been for such an early indoctrination.
And he was so excited to share these things that he loved with you. Is that what it was? His exuberance for them?
I have a bad memory. I wish I could remember and say, yeah. I feel like
Probably.
I feel like for Star Wars, I do remember him being excited to share that with me.
Yeah.
He loved entertainment, that's for sure.
Yeah. What was he like? What was your dad like?
The truth is, like, I can describe what I think I remember him to be, but a mixture of like the difficulty of having to deal with it, and how much time has gone by, and losing him at 18. I don't know who he actually was outside of my childhood years. Who he was as a person. My mom likes to pontificate about how he was these things, and it's like I want to believe you, but I don't remember, and I don't know if I witnessed it, and if I did, I don't remember. But from everything that I do, like, I feel like I remember in my heart, it's like he was just a very loving guy who enjoyed joking around and being with his friends, and was a family man, and wanted the best for his family, and he was incredibly supportive. I think worried when I said in high school that I wanted to go into entertainment.
Why was he worried?
It's a tough field.
Yeah. What did he do?
He was a corporate lawyer.
Okay. What do you think, would you say, is a lesson that that he taught you? Just one that has stuck with you?
Man, that's hard.
Even if it's not something he used to say, but just something that him being in your life taught you.
I think for me personally, it was about fostering community, whether that's just internally within the family or bringing in friends. I remember him having a lot of friends and him being very sociable and charming, and he brought people together. He liked to cook. He liked to have gatherings at the house and do barbecues and stuff. He was not the kind of guy that would want to talk about, like, he was not stern and was never tough, but he was like shy when it came to like being a dad, when it came to harder things, like having like the sex talk.
Yeah.
And my mom being like, we should do that talk. And he was like, I don't want to do that talk. And my mom would be like, I think I have to have the talk with you. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, weird. I like so much about his life I have no idea about. I remember after he passed, there was a guy he had worked with that like came out of the woodwork to be there and like found us and was like, I just need you to know he saved my life. And we were like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, he actually just, he saved my life. We were at a dinner together. I was choking. I couldn't breathe. He was the only one who knew how to do the Heimlich maneuver. He did it and he saved me. And it was like, how come we never heard of that story? And how many other countless stories are there out there that we'll never know because we didn't connect with those people, or it was a different time, or he just kept them in and never said anything. He's a little bit of an enigma. I just hope that everything I'm doing is making him proud.
Yeah. Do you think that what you're doing is making him proud?
I imagine so.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
I feel like absolutely. And I think that whatever your connection to what he is now, who he is now, is beautiful. Just remembering how he made you feel when he was around. I'm sure he'd be proud,
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to cry on your fucking podcast. Also, like,
People do it.
It's weird because I don't think about him very much, which is to say I don't think about him enough. And when I do, it never hits me.
Why do you think it hit you just now?
No idea. I guess I don't talk about him in depth like this.
Well, what I love about crying, and I have gotten so much more open to it in the past several years, is it's not and this is something that we talk about all the time with masculinity. It's not weakness. To me, it's more than just being emotional. You're touching pure truth. When you cry, something inside you is like you're hitting a little button. That's the most true thing possible.
Right.
And that's why you can't help but cry. And I think it's part of the beauty of being a human is being able to do that, you know?
I think so too. I think it's in a lot of, especially these days, I feel like it's hard to
touch the
hard
push
to
the
get to the
button.
place where you're like so moved emotionally that you emit salt water from your eyes.
Is it something? Would you like to be more in touch with a version of yourself that's closer to that?
I guess more recently, I've become more numb. I feel like I'm coming out of it.
Yeah.
But like the 2010s, I feel like I really built up a wall and kind of got number as I went. I threw myself into work. I'm definitely a workaholic, not as much these days, but I just killed myself just because I had a dream of getting to a certain place and doing big things, and I put so much on hold, including dating and other parts of my life like travel and seeing my friends. I feel like I'm doing better in recent time with juggling everything and being more open.
It sounds like you're in a place where you have a little more perspective, and a lot of times it's just because you have to lose the perspective to gain it, and now you're in a better spot. But where are you right now as far as like what's important to you? What are the top 3 most important things in your life right now?
Yeah. Oh, it'd be just my family, my loved ones, my friends, not to group them, but like, so my community of people that are there for me and have supported me through all these years.
Yeah, your people,
people,
your tribe. Yeah.
Including my family.
A little bit back to talking about masculinity, just before we wrap up here. I am interested because I'm trying to figure out how we can get to a better place. What do you think is a way or piece of advice, something you would say to a younger man, a teen version of yourself, about how to have a healthier relationship with the way you look at women? What would you tell a teenager nowadays?
I've you learn through life, and
Yeah.
I've gotten to a place where I feel like
you get it?
that
Kind of.
Yeah, I think that growing up, I related sometimes more with women than I did men, which is a weird thing to say aloud.
I understand why it's weird, but I think it's cool.
It's weird. The thing I would say would be that we're all people. We're equivalent in every way, except for anatomy. But who cares? We have the same brains. Like, culturally, we've been taught horrible things through media and parents, family members, friends' parents, about misogyny and how that might seem okay, and saying those things seem okay, and it makes you cool, or this is what being a man is about objectifying women, and you need a woman who looks like this and will do these things for you, and they're meant to do, their responsibilities in life are only a short list of things, and they shouldn't hold positions in different organizations, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. You need to, it's like, think for yourself. We're the same. You don't be socialized by a horrible fraternity culture that has subsisted in our world, like since the dawn of humanity.
Right.
Don't believe the like biblical story where Eve is to blame.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I know. It roots it all the way back there.
Yeah, it's...
What's interesting to me is that, like, it's like tradition, people using tradition as a reason for not changing, because it's like, well, this is how things have always been. It's like, that doesn't mean that they can't be better for everybody and that we can't change and be better. It just takes a while.
We should want the best for everybody.
Yeah.
That's how we all win.
Yeah.
There's no reason to put people in a box. Like, we all have to live amongst each other, and we live on this living, crazy rock that just spins through endless space. What a weird existence. But yeah, we're here together, and we got to make the absolute best of it, and we should treat each other as what we are, which is equals. We're humans.
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah.
That's represents everybody of this species.
It's simple, and some people may scoff at how just simplistic it seems, and also easier said than done to tell people to think about everyone as equal. But to me, it can't be said enough. It can't be emphasized enough, and it's the simple, big answer to the question of how do we do better. And so I don't care if it's, people think it's a platitude. I think we are all the same. And so that's a place to start. How does your heart feel right now, Steve?
After talking with you?
Yeah.
Feels full. I love talking to you. I was scared to come on and do this, but like I said, even though I produced a podcast that I frequented on, I feel like I have trouble articulating and recalling memories and like knowing the right words. But I wanted to do this. I when you started, I watched some people on Instagram giving responses, and I was thinking how beautiful and wonderful this podcast is, and I was excited that you were doing this, and we talked about it, but I was also really terrified because I've never done anything quite like this. I think that when I was doing Harmontown, I was very vulnerable, and I told a lot of embarrassing stories, but that was not my show, and it never put me on the spot as much as being the only guest in a conversation. So,
and also that's a show that is still driven around wit and still driven around comedy and going for, I'm sure this is entertaining to a certain degree, but it's more, I think it's almost can be a little more therapeutic for people who are watching. The point of this show is to shuck those adaptations in the conversation. We aren't going for anything except for like what you've been talking about, is having a moment of community with each other.
I hope I came across okay and I was articulate when I needed to be.
Articulate is good, but more importantly is honest and true and real, because that's the stuff that we don't still have enough of. We're talking about absorbing media, hearing people talk about the things that are important to them make us think about the things that are important to us. And there's nothing more important than what's important. So thanks for being down to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, anytime.